Middlekauff! Hey!
Live, on time, and reporting for duty.
I don't know about
you're laughing at me or with me.
I mean, listen, as a fan of the troops, it's fun. It is a good, like, we are reporting for duty, but it's like, again, not anti. It's just, it's what
You think I'm anti-troops because I say reporting for duty?
No, not at all. I just, I don't know if I can keep that up. Again, I have.
I imagine a logo of just like our faces just saluting.
Yeah,
like,
I think we've said it enough. Like it resonates.
Oh, okay. You don't want to say it every show? You're saying?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm a big just organic. What you're feeling that day type.
Yeah, I got you.
But you can. I mean,
I was driving to Davis on Saturday to see the Habermans, and there's this big car dealership right somewhere near like Vacaville, and they've got this humongous tent in the front of the car dealership with a few cars parked underneath it, and the tent has this big ban. The whole roof of the tent is a banner that faces the road, and it just says "Support our troops." It's like, fuck yeah, sell some cars.
And buy the E-Class Mercedes 360.
No special financing right now. Support our troops.
You notice that Sudwork banner or the billboard as you're driving?
I didn't see it. No.
It's probably that stretch between probably Dixon and Davis before you get to like the Mondavi area. But it's it's probably 5 minutes.
Oh, see, my parents, I don't take I go to 113.
Yeah, it's before 113.
It is?
Yeah.
After the farm stand or before the farm stand?
The farm, what looks like a kind of a weed thing they got going over there to your left as you're driving to Davis. Kind of a.
Is it past like all the Vacaville outlet, all the malls and that stuff?
Yes. It's close. It's close to 113. It's probably within 5 minutes of turn on to 113.
Oh,
I like that little stretch on 113.
I do too.
Got a soft spot for that stretch.
All right, we'll go get. I got some Sudworks cups in here. Maybe I'll break them out for the draft.
I do too. Somewhere.
Do you? I've got like plastics.
Oh, you have Sudwork plastic cups?
Sudwork plastic cups from way back in the day.
Middlekauff, big car dealer people. Here's what I don't understand. His father sold, Honda in Davis. It couldn't have been a better cultural fit, and it worked. The guy bought it from him, and he moved to Nashville. I think he plays golf with Darius Rucker now. They changed the name. It was, Middlekauff Honda. It was like, or it was Davis University Honda.
Yeah.
And the guy that you could tell he's an egomaniac had to put his own name on it. It's now like Middlekauff Honda. It just doesn't even work. It's like, why didn't you just leave it? Bro. You buy for the branding. You don't buy Nike and then change it Nike, right? To your name.
People, especially with their cars, want to really trust. And so they've built up all this trust, right? I don't know when I go in there because they did service there. When I go in there, right?
Where they made all their money.
That's where, service and financing, I think. But Scott can correct us. But it takes a lot of time to build up trust. I go to a new. I just dropped my car off today at a new place, and I'm done with them. I'm out. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Put a lot of money into that car.
145,000 miles, John. But
luckily, listen to this podcast that they think the car market is about to big shift.
Oh.
Because, when you go into some economic chaos, the majority of these people that bought all these cars at premium prices are not like Elon Musk paying for the cars, right?
So you're saying the used car market's going to flood here coming up?
Yeah.
I used to work at Hanley's Toyota a long time ago. Owner was a jerk. Whoa. I don't want to be.
Yeah, well, here's
this is Iceman 0072 talking here.
Some people are mean. Some people aren't mean. Honestly, was he a jerk, or was he driving quotas and sales, and it's the lifeblood of the business, right?
Driving past 113 now. Support signs are out in full force. When are you guys going back to 1515 in Walnut Creek?
Drove by today. It was shut down. Granted, it was 8 in the morning. I was swinging by the bank, but
sources say we might be out in the creek soon, but we'll see. Happy Monday. Good to see everybody. Denzel Ward overrated. How about Denzel Ward? What did he get today? 71 million
I saw
Guaranteed?
someone just tweet that it's the agent for Deebo and all these guys too.
It is.
Dandy or Handy or something.
I think it's Tory Handy
Tory Handy.
or
Yeah.
Dandy. Yeah.
That guy.
That's the guy, Dandy. That's the guy I was trying to tell you last week I followed because I knew he was Deebo's guy, and then I saw his name today and I recognized it. That's the guy, John.
He's doing some deals.
Torrey is doing some deals.
Well, I mean, Deebo ain't getting that cash.
Well, that's what's crazy, right? If you had Denzel Ward and Deebo Samuel on the market today, who would get more money?
I mean, it's corners.
Okay, sorry. Let me rephrase.
More wide
positionless-
receivers come into the draft every
Yeah,
year.
it's a bad way. If you just told a team money's the same, you can have one of them, who would they take? Maybe they would take Denzel Ward.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at his. I don't. Has he been hurt a lot? I mean,
There's no way he's been hurt a lot if he just got that deal.
you wouldn't think. Like I talked to someone yesterday when I was driving home from Easter, and guy in the league who was also on a drive to go to meetings. And I was just rattling off some questions I had, and Sauce Gardner come up, who's like Sauce is viewed as the top guy. He's like, you know, like Sauce is a good player, right? He's 6'2", he's a productive player from Cincinnati, but like, you know, is he fucking Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders? You know, I mean, in a good draft like last year, he's probably more the 15th overall pick, and in this draft, he's going to go like 4.
Yeah.
Well, the moment you take a guy 4, and this is what, honestly, it's not like I study Brown's film, but Denzel Ward never felt like, God, he's just got this next all-pro every year guy. But I guess it's just hard to get. I'm sure he's probably a good guy. You know, it's got to be something said for that. Underrated thing in the NFL, if you're a really good player and you're a really good guy, like you're going to get paid. Do you know the only guys that like, you know, or it's like the bad guys or the people causing problems. If you don't cause problems and people just like you and then you're just solid on the field.
And you're hard to replace.
You're just going to get cash.
Yeah. Wood says, talk about J.C. Jackson's agent. Isn't Rosenhaus's agent?
Well, but J.C. Jackson, like, and I know it happened a long time ago, but you know, you get into a situation, it's hard. It stays with you for a long time.
Oh, but he was just a free agent in the NFL, right? Coming from New England. I think two things work against him. You're saying like getting in trouble in college?
I'm just saying like GMs, if you're off my board as a draft pick for something character-wise, and then you become a really good player, do you automatically just resurface on my board where I go, you know, there's something that I can't look past that I would struggle? I don't know.
Yeah.
You would go, well, he did okay for Bill.
Well, that's the other, but does that help him or work against him that Bill's not bringing him back? It spooks me a little.
Yeah, but Bill let some guys go, and you know.
There's something else. Since we were talking about Denzel Ward, it's a perfect time to. I got an Ohio State trivia question for everybody and for you,
Nick Bosa.
So in 2020, can you name the top 4 receivers in receptions at Ohio State? Not 2021, not last year. 2020.
The two guys,
Olave and Garrett Wilson.
The dude on Alabama,
Jamison Williams. And the other guy is the guy, Jackson Smith and Jigba, the guy that was there.
I was going to assume he wasn't on the team yet. So yeah,
he was, because I looked, I'm like, wait a second, I went back and looked because I was like, did they have Olave, Wilson, Smith and Jigba, and Jamison Williams on the same team? And the answer to that is yes. I think Trey Sermon had more catches than Jamison Williams actually in 2020.
So they had Trey Sermon too.
They had Trey Sermon. And then their tight end, whoever their tight end was, had 12 catches or something. But they had Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson.
That's a crew.
That is a squad. So
well, when the guy transfers and wants to go to Alabama, like I saw Spencer Rattler gave some quotes. They were just priceless. About to an to a guy, college football reporter, right? He's at South Carolina now. They must have just had their spring game, or maybe it's going into their spring game.
I think
week.
they just had it.
And he gave this quote like, you know, it's one thing to just go to a place like Alabama where you can win, or come to a place like this and build it from the ground up. It's like, Spencer, Alabama was not an option for you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You were not, honestly, Alabama, you're acting like they wouldn't even have picked up your phone call, but neither would like LSU, Ohio State, like all the top programs. You were at one, you were not good enough. You had to go to South Carolina. Like your options were not, I would say, fruitful, right? I mean, the top programs were not taking Spencer Rattler. Now, one thing in that article, they didn't quite know the details. Maybe, do you remember this? Like, did something happen with Arizona State? Like he was supposed to go to Arizona State and he backed out? Or
I know he was. Yeah, I had heard he might go to ASU, but I didn't know it was a supposed to when he backed out. Unless all the stuff with, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jaden Daniels is gone, so I don't know why he.
One thing, I guess the South Carolina offensive coordinator, probably they didn't have a great year on offense last year. And his pitch to him was like, people trying to run me out of town. You got it running out of town. We got chips on our shoulder. Like that was the offensive coordinator's pitch. Like, they hate me. They hate you. Let's get in the bunker together and just do it and prove everyone wrong. Like, good luck, buddy.
Marcus Satterfield was the Carolina Panthers assistant O-line coach before taking the job. Was a head coach at Tennessee Tech, been at Temple.
Good luck there, buddy.
It's from Tennessee.
Before we hopped on, I saw this clip, like probably a minute. You were looking something up, and I just had it on the background, and it was Woj. He must have said this yesterday before the games in the morning. Crazy. Once the NBA playoffs start in that first round, you don't really expect it. There's like 5 games on a day. Like, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of content going.
Well, Saturday morning, remember, game tipped off. We were talking at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, so they were. Woj said that. I think the agents are probably saying this because the players are saying that they thought this year, and definitely that first weekend of the playoffs, that the fans are taking it to another level, screaming like, I have you over for 20. I need you 3 more points. Like, part of their venom isn't just, fuck you or boo. It's screaming specific things. Someone forwarded me, like, in my DMs within the last month of, like, Kevin Durant and some NBA players have been taking shots like, I'm not covering on purpose or something. And someone's like, this is already getting into a weird little world in the NBA.
Players say that back to fans. Like, I'm going to not cover.
Players are like tweeting it or saying it like in the post-game press conference. It was like, yeah, it fell a little short in my over, just kind of subtle jabs. And it's like the NBA by far was the least equipped to handle what was coming, even though I think it's probably a little overrated how many people are actually betting on it. But if you or me were going to like an NBA playoff game, I'd be like, yeah, I'll throw $50 on some guy to go over under a score. I mean, it's maybe not that crazy, but the NBA can be so sensitive to so many things that it feels like it's probably a little overkill. Like, is it as bad as they're acting? Like, is every 55-year-old, Bill Williamson with his 10-year-old kid there watching a playoff game screaming about points? I doubt it.
It's hard to yell that too. I got you for the over 29.5.
I heard Bill Simmons. I listened to his podcast today with Russillo, and he was at the Boston game. And he said that during the anthem, he's like at one of the spots where it's like, she kind of pauses to make the next line.
Yeah. And the home.
Yeah, but it might have even been in the middle of the anthem, just as like a transition. That someone from like the rafters dropped a "fuck you, Kyrie," and it echoed throughout the whole place.
Have you gotten to the most recent episode of before we get to Deebo here? The most recent episode of the Lakers show?
I have not. No,
they go to Boston for the first time. It's good.
Larry Magic.
Larry's fantastic character. Larry is really good.
So Westhead's coaching the team.
Westhead's coaching the team. Yeah. And the way they make him look is not the way Perlman's book makes him look, and it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, they're crushing these guys.
Crushing. Pat Riley's looking pretty good. They've made Pat Riley start looking better. Pat Riley starts to look. All of a sudden, Pat's combing his hair.
I think John C. Riley's doing a great job.
Riley is.
he makes Jerry Buss look even cooler than I thought he was.
I know.
Because I didn't realize. I just assumed he was like
opening lower and lower.
Yeah, this super rich guy that was banging everything, but he actually was kind of like a struggling businessman, right? That's what kind of this
and a
film,
brilliant guy, like
aggressive, just kind of understood like what to take chances on, what not.
But I mean, like a chemist level, like smart guy.
That's why he was doctor.
He had a PhD. I think it was in like the sciences of some. It wasn't like a fake doctorate. Dr. Cosby, who is controversial for not even controversial, getting
Well,
crushed.
he's out.
But I didn't know his Cosby's PhD was a thing of controversy too. People didn't think he actually did the classes, and people were like, "Yeah, a doctor of like bullshit." Like, no, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not a big on doctor to non-doctors. Like,
yeah, if you haven't
my doctors can,
give stitches. If you haven't given stitches or injected,
if you haven't injected, or if I can't unbutton my pants and pull it down and feel completely normal in front of you, then you're not a doctor.
All right. So we get some. Let's hit some Deebo. Actually, hold on. Let me get rid of this thing here because we're not going to talk about that till tomorrow. Here we go. Shefty Schefter reports with AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel drafted this. No, that's the wrong one.
That's the right one.
It wasn't the right one. Where does he actually say the thing? Second round picks that include Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, and Terry McLaurin are not expected to participate in their team's on-field off-season programs because they want new contracts at a time this offseason when wide receiver deals have exploded. As a team leader, Terry McLaurin still will be reporting to the team's off-season programs that open today while his contract situation remains unresolved per source. The report from one of the Titans writers was that AJ Brown is not going to report as of this. By the time you watch this, you may already know that he didn't. And as you saw there, Terry McLaurin is. And we'll wait to see if Deebo is. AJ Brown just tweeted as we do this live show, "I'm a diva and a bad teammate all of a sudden. LOL, okay. Do what you have to do, and then so will I." I like the first reply. Welcome to Kansas City.
So that's fair to say he ain't showing up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Deebo had an Instagram today, but I think it was like his mom.
We did get some of the Deebo videos. We've done some replies from people that are like, he doesn't want to be here. He can go. So Schefter says Deebo, Terry McLaurin, and AJ Brown holding out to varying degrees, which we can talk about, but holding out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the move, if you're Deebo Samuel, is to not show up, is to not participate literally by not putting your feet on the ground. Now, AJ Brown, this is not the only way this gets reported is if it gets leaked, right? Because the media is not coming to phase one. So there isn't like you and me go out to OTAs. It's pretty clear if Deebo is on the field or not. But that's not going on until a couple weeks after the draft. Now, it's pretty clear with these 3-level guys, and I would include DK, who I think everyone thinks he's going to show up. Like, if they do not show up, it is getting out, right? Immediately. Because I think if you're the agent, Handy, you want it out because it creates a little more urgency. But I would expect as this week goes on, like, I do understand it's a tough spot because Deebo, like Terry McLaurin, who my take on Terry McLaurin is I don't watch enough Commanders football. I mean, I know he's really good and talked to enough people in the league but I can't. Like, I've seen enough of AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, and Deebo to have like legitimate opinions on them as a player, right? Like, I can't quite speak to Terry on the level of the other 3 guys, but I think it's fair to say some people put him in that category. He's dealt with, tougher quarterback situation for sure, but they did trade for Carson Wentz. And, if you're showing up but not participating, kind of doing the hold in the offseason, it's a tricky spot. It's very difficult. I don't care how old you are when you're working for someone to kind of take a stance on certain things. It's always easy for the owner to make stances on shit. Like, so I tend to be pro management, but I do understand these guys' situation. They're good guys. These are not easy situations to, like, Nick Bosa. He knows he's getting so much fucking money. It doesn't matter. It is more difficult for these guys that know that these teams would gladly, like, the Niners don't have a choice what they give Nick, right? The number starts at the number, which is like $105 guaranteed dollars. Like, that is the starting point for the negotiation. If you told me he gets a 115, I'd believe you. These other guys, like, these teams right now would sign them for $41 million guaranteed if they could, if these guys would accept it.
Right.
But, you see these guys getting paid, and then, hell, I know he plays a different position, but you're like, Denzel Ward just got, $73 million. Now, the difference, and you know about it, I'm not going to publicly quite get into it, but, like, an agent got mad at something that we said on this podcast. And one big point of contention he had is that the differentiation of contracts, because ultimately, you know what Denzel Ward has in his back pocket? Two things. He has a 5th-year option, which is always a lot at a position like corner. So the average of the top 10 salaries. And then he has a franchise tag. So he has 2 years. Let's say it's, 15 and 18. Let's say it's like over $30 million as a starting point. So that $73 million actually might only be $42 million in brand new money.
Yeah, the cornerback franchise tag for this year would be 17.2 million would be so for the next year when he would get tagged.
What is the cornerback 5th-year option?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be.
He's on the 5th-year option right now, so
he's coming into his 5th year.
Well, I think he was drafted in Baker Mayfield's draft, and what's Baker Mayfield now going into his? Isn't Baker going into his 5th year?
Going into his 5th year, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever Denzel's starting point for the negotiation is the 22 million and whatever his salary was this year, which I would imagine it's 12 or 14 because he was the 4th pick in the Baker Mayfield draft.
Has he been to 2 Pro Bowls or 1 Pro Bowl or no Pro Bowls? Definitely been to at least 1, right?
I don't know. But that's the difference that these guys have that those guys
So
don't.
sorry, I'm sorry, I interrupt. The point is, if he's been to 1 Pro Bowl, it's 15 million. If he's been to 2, it's 17 million. So it's the same as the tag.
Yeah, he was on his.
He's been to 2, so 17 million back-to-back years. $34 million is what we're talking about for Denzel.
Well, I have Denzel Ward here at 13-2
on
spot track
on the player option.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, on the 5th-year
option.
Okay.
I don't know how the Pro Bowl thing works if you're not a true Pro Bowler. Like, does Mac Jones count as a Pro Bowler?
Good question. Maybe you have to be. I don't know.
But that's understandable, right? Those guys. When
sorry, yeah, you're making the point on Deebo looking around going, and you're saying not everyone's contract. If you're a first rounder, your contract's not the same as a second rounder because you have another year of multi-million dollars guaranteed you that they're trying to.
Yeah, because Deebo's number actually is like, okay, $4 million this year, and then if I franchise you next year, that's let's just make it an even number, 20. So you're $24 million on the books. This guy is 13 plus 22. This guy's at 35, so he's at way more money. So he's starting at a number that you're not starting at.
Yeah,
right?
If Deebo had been a first rounder, we're entering his 4th year in the league. He'd be making a lot more money, and his 5th-year option, which the Niners would have picked up, would be worth $18 million.
And then his franchise tag another 20, so he's almost at $40 million, right? And so it'd be easier to give him 70 because you're like, well, I'm only giving him
because I got to pay him 40
over the
next
money,
right? Because I've got to pay him 40 anyway.
Yeah.
So say what I interrupt you. Say what you said again about the new money.
So the new money actually isn't that much for Denzel money, true new money, because Denzel knows he's getting the 13 and a half this year, right? He's literally on the book, like guaranteed. Like it's his 5th-year options, like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is getting 18-8. Whether they trade him, whether they cut him, like Baker Mayfield has got $18.8 million coming his way. The 5th-year option is kind of the draft's in a couple weeks. It is a big fucking deal to get drafted in that first round relative to the second round, right?
Huge.
Because for the contract negotiation, the point of the ledge you can stand on and negotiate. So, all these guys were listening. DK, AJ, Deebo, and Terry, they didn't get picked in the first 32 picks. So I understand where they're coming from. They're seeing all these guys. If you're just Deebo or AJ Brown, you see Denzel Ward gets $70 million guaranteed. You're like, what the? They're offering me 48. It doesn't make any sense, but it does from a business standpoint because, well, hey guys, you're only on the books for $3 million this year. And that is an area that I have circumvented in talking about contracts, which I do have to agree with the agent community that it is true, right? It is a point of you argue and negotiate from that these other non-first rounders do not have. You just go right into the franchise tag. They basically kind of get a sneaky, probably 75% of the franchise tag, but you look at it for 2 years. Well, if you're willing to give me the 5th-year option, I know you're willing to franchise tag me, right?
Right.
Because any guy that gets their 5th-year option picked up, he's good. We see a lot of guys not get their 5th-year option. McGlinchey's a little bit of an outlier. right? Like McGlinchey ain't getting franchised, but I would say most guys that get their 5th-year option picked up, McGlinchey is at the lowest end of those guys, it feels like, over the last several years.
Darnold.
The quarterbacks are in their own probably tier, right? Because I either extend you or I just get rid of you. There's usually no middle ground. It's like they were hoping Baker and Darnold would be extendable players, and it just turns out they weren't.
Well, and it's different. The Browns picked up their own guy's option. The Panthers didn't, or the Jets didn't pick up the option. The Panthers did, right?
Yeah. Which, if you're going to trade a 2nd-round pick for him, don't you want him for 2 years?
Yeah, in theory, but in hindsight, no. Right?
Yeah.
So no, you're right. I don't blame AJ. Don't blame Deebo. Don't blame Scary Terry.
But I just think the numbers they're
Don't
getting put
blame
in front of are probably pretty eye-opening to them relative to what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is going to be the interesting part is going to be, of those 4 guys, who's the first one to sign, and do they win the contract? And I do wonder.
Well, I can't even speak. Are they all represented by the same human being? We know 3 of the 4 of them are.
3 of the 4. Who's the 4th? Terry? Yeah.
Because if you are representing,
well, Terry showed up, it makes it feel like he's probably not represented by the same agent then, right?
But if DK is going to show up, why would DK show up and the other 2 guys not show up? I guess we'll find out. To me, not participating and showing up, again, you're just lifting. So you're just standing there when everyone lifts. It's a little easier at training camp, right?
Just trying to be a good guy. Just maybe me showing up, you'll be more likely to do something for me, right?
Kyle!
Terry is not represented by the same agent. Buddy Baker of Exclusive Sports Group is Terry McLaurin's agent. I also wonder, the Commanders are getting dragged right now, John, or drugged. Of the 3 teams, I wonder if Washington, or the 4 teams, if Washington's the most inclined to do something that is tied to positive public relations. And Terry is obviously one of their best players and a fan favorite. I wonder if he might get the first money or the most money, just based on the fact that I wonder if Washington's just in a position to try and do something that makes people happy, whereas the Niners, the Titans, and the Seahawks probably don't care as much about that.
Yeah, they don't.
It's something that bad organizations
Seattle clearly doesn't.
Seattle's like it. Right. Something that bad organizations sometimes do, which can work in the player's favor. And at the end of the day, you're on that team, which sucks, but maybe he gets paid first. I don't know.
It's going to be fascinating what all these guys end up getting, because the first guy is going to set off the market for this crew, because their market number is different than the other crew. And it should be. And I mean, one thing I agree with from the team standpoint, these guys are not in Tyreek, Diggs, and Devontae's category. Not as great players, but from a resume. Those guys got paid based on 7 years or 6 years of work, kicking ass, taking names for a long period of time. Like these, hey, you cats, like you guys have a combined like 4 Pro Bowls, all 1 each. Hell, even Denzel Ward, technically, I guess, made 2. I don't watch enough Browns football to have a great take on him, but
his rookie year and then last year.
He's clearly a good player.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, like you said, it is a little supply and demand. Like, why ultimately was it easy? Easy would be strong, but like when they're looking at each other in the room, ultimately the Packers are like, well, yeah, I mean, if we can get their 1 and their 2, let's just capitulate to Devontae's demands instead of playing old school. There's a million wide receivers in this draft. And Andy, like, yeah, Tyreek, let's get their pick 20, get an extra first-round pick. There's a million wide receivers every year in these drafts. And they all look, I mean, the wide receivers at the combine we had one on. He ran a 4.38, 4.35. I think it ended up being 4.43 or something. But come on.
Yeah, and he's not a first rounder.
He's like a 3rd rounder.
Jamison Williams is going to get drafted probably maybe the 4th receiver, 5th receiver off the board, right? Coming off an ACL.
This morning I was cleaning up a little bit, and I just had like DJ's latest podcast. He thought that when he originally tore his ACL, and in fairness, like the reaction was like, oh my God, his career, right? And then everyone, after that game, everyone takes deep breaths, like, I'll still probably go at the end of the first round. And DJ's like, I would probably bet on him going closer to 10 than 25.
Yeah.
Because you go, well, it's an ACL. Pup, he might be back by like before Halloween. He's sweet.
I saw somebody do the numbers today. Creed Humphrey.
The 5th-year option,
Yeah, to me, it's worth. Creed Humphrey got drafted, got hurt a month prior, and came back like 3 weeks into the season. So they're kind of, you like you said, you estimate around, if he has the same recovery, around October.
He
and
did
was well
tear
worth
it in the
pick.
natty, right?
Yeah, he tore it a month later. Creed Humphrey did it in this conference championship game.
Yeah.
But if he was going to be one of the top receivers, why change your mind if you think he's better than if you think he's better than Chris Olave, then why change your mind off the ACL?
It was to me an Achilles, a devastating knee injury, right? Just something where it's like, this is really bad. Like
the multiple
Jalen Smith type thing, but it's just like clean ACL. These guys are such freaks.
Glad he got it out of the way. Now, I mean, watching Odell hurt it again, that freaks me out a little bit. But
yeah, but you would say a lot of guys have torn their ACL one time in their career.
I know. We just look at it like Tommy John now. Did he have his Tommy John yet? I want to get it out. I want to sign him after his Tommy John.
True that.
So, I don't know. That's I will say this. Do you know who's played more games this year in their career? Not this year. Deebo Samuel's actually appeared in more games than Nick Bosa.
Because Nick did miss a season.
Yeah. Deebo's have been kind of little of this, little of that, little of this, little of that, little banged up here, a little banged up there. Nursing this, nursing that, but he performs.
Much more difficult to find a Nick Bosa than not Deebo specifically, because that would be hard to find, but like I can find a wide receiver. Niners literally did the next year, right? Juwan Jennings. I'm not saying Deebo's level, but I'm just saying it's impossible. There are 5 or 6 Nick Bosas. Nick, Joey, Myles Garrett. I mean, Von Miller got $51 million. He's 33. He's not even in that category.
Right.
Chandler Jones isn't in that category. Like there are like 5 elite prime guys. Khalil's not in that category any longer. He might get back immediately, but it's a short list. And the only way you get him, Joey 3rd, Nick 2, Myles 1. It's like there's no like, well, we found JJ Watt in the 4th. That's hell. Max Crosby is an incredible story, right? In the 4th round, and he's a major outlier. Where it's like, oh, Terry McLaurin 3rd round, yeah.
Deebo, DK, AJ, on and on and on and on.
Keenan Allen. I mean, just Devontae.
And by the way, like past their prime now, but Von Miller, 2nd overall pick, right?
Yeah.
Khalil Mack out of Buffalo. What do you go 4?
And he 5, and he fell.
Sammy Watkins. I'll never forget being at the Raider draft party when Sammy Watkins got drafted. People were like, "What?"
He fell.
Mike Mayock, to his credit, had done a lot of work pumping up Khalil Mack leading up to that draft.
We're trying to get Mike Mayock on the podcast, so I actually emailed back and forth. He said he passed, but he said maybe in a month or 2. Now, one problem I can see him being back in the NFL and that off the table.
You think it's an empty promise? Well, we'll see.
No, he was nice.
Oh, okay. Mike, appreciate that. You should hit him back up. Mike, congratulations on the job with the Patriots. Here's a few times and dates. Let us know what works best.
Yeah. Could you guys do a dual pod?
Yeah. If Bill could swing by, that'd be great. So as of this discussion on YouTube, you see something you want to talk about?
I see some people talking about Rich Gannon. Something happened with Rich Gannon.
Baby Zone? Rich going to sue the Raiders?
But I saw someone else write Gannon. I just wanted to see that something happened with Rich Gannon. But if not, see, this is why you got to be very. I'm not. The comments are just.
Who's your favorite Raiders player of all time? I'll start. Ken Stabler. And then
don't even worry about it.
Okay. Well, who is Rich then? Rich Paul?
Yeah. See, you cannot.
Some guy named Rich who had his season tickets taken from him. Oh, yeah. Bisaccia, short Italian guy. Yeah, in his words, not mine.
That's true. Well, he's on the Packers now.
Rich Gannon. Okay, so as we talk about this, there's not been an official report on what Deebo is going to do, but do you expect Deebo to show up on Tuesday? And should Deebo show up on? You said earlier you don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I got no clue what he's going to do, but I would say 100% the way to create urgency and a little leverage, because you don't have, in a weird way, he doesn't have that much, is to not show up. They're breaking in a brand new quarterback. I mean, he's basically equivalent of a rookie, right? And did you see the picture? Did Trey post it? Did Ayuk post it? Like those two together? Now, Ayuk, like, he ain't getting paid anytime soon. So it's like, he might as well just be all in with his new quarterback. But Deebo not being there, and you see Kittle posted the other day, like him FaceTiming Trey Lance, like they're all kind of transitioning.
Yep.
Deebo's point of difference is going to be, and we've said this over and over, he's only doing the Niners a favor if he shows up without a contract to start working with Trey Lance. Like, in this notion that, what about the reps he missed? Why does Deebo give a shit? Deebo knows this. The moment he's ready, those reps immediately go to 19. Hey, whatever other numbers repping in there beside Ayuk, get the fuck out. This is the big leagues. This ain't JV football. So to me, the recommendation is no hold in, no participation. If I'm on Deebo's camp, we are not showing up. Now, part of this is also going to be like, are we prepared? Like, is it just as simple as, can they give you 3 years, $75 million to get you 25 a year, but guarantee 40 of it? Like, would that make you feel whole? Or are we holding out for these numbers that the other guys got? Because if you are, we're not going to see you for a long time.
Well, 3 for 75 isn't getting signed on April 20th. I'll tell you that.
I think it would if they guaranteed every penny.
Oh, 3 for 75 with $40 million guaranteed is not getting signed on April 20th. Agree?
So basically a 3-year extension for $75 million. So the equivalent of like a 4-year, $80 million deal, but they guaranteed every penny, something like, which I think if you were the Niners, you would want to do something short term.
Yes, you would.
There's no way in God's green earth.
This is not the way guys. I don't blame guys for this because the sport is violent. But if you're Deebo, you go, I want more than that because there's no guarantee in 4 years I'm extremely healthy. So
does he make it 2?
Or the other thing is you feel like somebody will pay you that. But there is a sense when you show up and hold in that you're a good guy, that you're a team leader. We just did a video on Sunday about Deebo has done a lot of the things the right way for the 49ers, but does him not showing up change any of that? I don't think so. But I think to your point, it does create just a little bit of if you're there is a feeling that like, we'll get this worked out and we will find a way to reach a compromise. If you're not there, what you're saying is no compromises. I need to get paid. And I don't have a problem with it. Now, I do think
that's gone out the window a little bit, like bad guy. Like, to me, that was like a 90s, maybe 10 years ago thing. I think it's less and less.
Maybe.
Given the amount of money that's on the line.
He does have $50,000 workout bonus that he doesn't get if he skips these workouts.
But isn't money all relative? I mean, ultimately, he's going for 50, 60 guaranteed $1 million. What the fuck's $50,000?
Yeah.
To me, that's nothing when you think in the big picture. Right, you always take a short-term gain for short-term loss for a big-term gain.
Yeah,
but ultimately, that money means nothing to me if our goal is to get the big money, and big money may end up being $45 million guaranteed, but $45 million guaranteed is well worth holding out if the offer right now is 38, or whatever. Because again, I think it's really low. I think he's very offended because I think the number is very low, and based on his career, the number should be low. The only reason it's higher is because the market changed, but he doesn't have as much in common with the market as I think he thinks. If I'm the Niners, like, you just don't. Like, what do you have in common with Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill is 5 years straight of dominating.
Yeah, I mean, I think his argument, and this is an argument that doesn't really win, is you're paying me for what I'm about to do, not what my resume says I did, right? And that's just not how most pro contracts happen. It's how rookie contracts happen. But outside of rookie contracts, it's not really how anyone gets paid. I'd say the only other group of people that get paid, if you can think of somebody else, the only other group of people that get paid like that for what they're about to do are guys that make the big leagues at a really young age, and teams give them like these proactive contracts that actually aren't that big in the grand scheme of things. But this guy's about to be under team control for the next 5 years. So he signs a 7-year, $80 million contract, right? Those are the only two groups I feel like that get paid really on what they're about to do.
Because Bryce Harper and Garrett Cole got paid on what they did, right?
Yeah.
And ideally just maintaining that.
Right. Which Bryce at last check is not doing.
Bryce Harper?
Bryce not having a great year, is he?
I mean, they've played 1 week.
Oh, okay. Well, slow start.
I thought Garrett Cole sucks now that he doesn't have
Garrett Cole Garrett Cole also not doing great. Bryce is
Well, maybe
quick
the
peek
home runs
here.
were all in spring training.
Bryce hitting 216 at the moment. 333 on base though. So paying Bryce to walk. I think not.
We got time to go.
This isn't Deebo versus the Niners. It's Deebo versus Parag. Until Kyle is like, I need him here. Which is what Deebo, right? That's kind of what you hope. This is where holdouts are not created equal, all the same places. Like organizations where the head coach is the offensive play caller and in charge of everything. Maybe a holdout for an offensive player can have a bigger impact for a coach than when the GM is in charge of everything, right? And the GM decides who gets paid and who doesn't. Maybe that'd be part of my argument to Deebo too. Stay home. Maybe Kyle gets kind of antsy.
This is Kyle's ultimately signing off on the number they give him, and its overall impact on the salary cap.
But you said it on the podcast Sunday, like Kyle, historically, the Shanahan family business is interchangeable widgets.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say that Deebo jumped the shark out of the widgets. Like he's no longer in the widget group. Right.
Deebo. Yeah.
But because Kittle took off from that group and they paid him, but it was much easier to pay a tight end and it was much easier to pay Fred Warner. Right. Like it's a lot easier to do the deals at 30 in the mid 30 guarantees. Even if it's like, oh, he's making 17 a year. Yeah. I mean, I basically guaranteed him 2 years. Right. Like ultimately the Raiders, the Chiefs, even the Bills, like those guys are going to be in their 30s on their books. Now, if something catastrophic happens, maybe they cut them or trade them, right? You just never know in the NFL. But those contracts are on the books for 22, 23, and a minimum 24. We saw Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's just got 100 guaranteed like 3 years ago. It was like, Falcons like, we can't get this guy off the books. You know? I mean, it's hard. Because usually with the higher money, what do? You push it back.
Yeah.
So it really hits the books. It'd be like if you could get the option, and maybe they'd have this for like high net worth clients, to not pay a credit card. It wasn't a monthly due. It was like once a year. I bet a lot of people would do that, right?
Keep the money in your pocket.
Or just extend, right? And I guess they technically have some of that with like minimum payments. That's kind of what it's like. But you can just push back minimum payments forever, right? The cap, like a huge lump sum does hit you.
Mark says 3 years, 66, fully guaranteed. It's a short-term deal. Deebo can stay healthy into his late 20s. He can get another Diggs, Adams, Hill type contract. Christian Kirk ruined the market for Deebo, AJ, and DK.
I don't think the Niners would do that.
Christian Kirk was a second rounder, right?
I think he was a little later than that.
He was pick 47. He was a second rounder.
Jesus. I didn't know that.
In 18, 19, 20. So that's...
He just played out his 4-year contract.
Yeah.
Became a free agent.
Right. And they said bye-bye. You don't think the Niners would do 3 for 66? I don't either. Fully guaranteed.
Why would I fully guarantee and then he's just able to, then I got to go through this again?
Yeah, you would give him 66 fully guaranteed if he's under contract for 7 years.
Now, ultimately, if I gave him a 3-year extension at 66, he's under contract for 4 because you would include this year, right?
But still, if you're going to give him 66,
35 million. Yeah.
If you're going to give him 66, you're going to take
5-year contract minimum.
I mean, that he wants 25 AAV.
Yeah.
Right. So that doesn't have to be fully guaranteed, though.
I don't think he gets over $60 million from the Niners guaranteed.
Yeah. The question is, which one of this group is going to get the most?
Whoever signs last, probably. So it'll be interesting how handy, because they're not going to go down, right? It's not like AJ Brown's going to get 58 and then the next guy is going to get 49. You would think it just incrementally works up. That's how it's kind of worked.
Right.
Devontae got 67, then Tyreek got 72. And then, Diggs doesn't have the resume of Tyreek, but he still had a really good resume, kind of got in the middle.
Pretty unique for the agent to have all three guys and be not Terry, but to have the other three and be able to tell each team. Niners, Dandy is the last name with a D. Niners, Titans are offering 57, right? Seahawks, Titans are offering 57. Niners, Seahawks are offering 60.
Kind of a weird spot to be in.
If I were the three GMs, I would. Are the GMs allowed to talk?
Yeah.
So if I were the 3 GMs, I would talk to each other. That's not artificially suppressing the market.
I'm sure it is, but who's going to find out? I'm sure they are.
What was the deal? Didn't who got accused of that a few years ago in free agency? Maybe it was the NFL. Was it the NFL? Everybody thought they were suppressing the market.
No, I think I thought it was I thought it was like baseball.
Oh, maybe it was baseball. Yeah, it makes sense. It would be baseball. But anyway, I mean, that's the other thing. If you're the agent, you'll know what market value is with all 3 of these first offers come in. What all 3 of the first offers are 48.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's why, maybe Deebo needs to subscribe to
ButcherBox.com/ham.
Yeah, you get free ground beef for life, guy. ButcherBox.com/ham. You get free ground beef for the life of your subscription. Every single subscription. ButcherBox.com/ham. Free ground beef. How do you beat that? Order boxes. Feeds 24 people a box. No big deal.
I made. I busted out the ground beef last night actually.
What'd you guys have?
Had fajita bowls.
What'd you contribute to that meal?
I was mixing the ground beef around. Chop up some veggies. It's really easy. You get the ground beef, chop up veggies like onions, bell peppers, maybe a squash or something. You dump the meat in. You get some taco seasoning or whatever you want, and then you mix it all up. You brown rice, bowl, bam.
Easy peasy. Better than the prime rib my brother cooked for Easter.
Was it?
It's just a little undercooked.
How'd he cook it?
Well, he smoked it and then put it in the barbecue.
Podcast also brought to you by Buck Mason. I'm wearing my Buck Mason hoodie right now. I love it. You'll love it too. You get a free t-shirt with any order. You can order a t-shirt, get another free t-shirt. Just go to buckmason.com/ham right now. Pick out your tee. I would say hoodie, true to size. I would recommend size up on the tee, but they're great t-shirts. Would you agree with that recommendation?
Yeah, I just got a delivery of like 5 more t-shirts. Bought more.
Did you really? Did you size up on this order?
I did. Yeah, I had to give a couple mediums away to skinny people.
Yeah. So if you like the tight fit, then order. If you just like a little casual fit, it's not going to be too baggy if you want a little more of a roomy fit. But I think the Pima cotton is fantastic. I wear the hell out of my Pima cotton Buck Mason tees. So go get those. We love them.
Yeah, buckmason.com. Promo code or /ham?
Slash. That's a slash.
Slash, baby.
They got all kinds of stuff.
Slash that shit.
Cordell Stewart that shit.
Whatever happened to
pod?
Cordell would have not terrible. Kind of, some people older crowd might think it's like music, Slash. Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, good call.
I feel like Cordell, I guess he's a little old, would feel like he'd a USFL type.
Probably a little old, but how old is T.O.?
But he was in the fan control league, not the USFL.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the league with again, fan control.
Johnny
league.
football.
But Johnny doesn't even play. Johnny just watches.
Johnny just does fan control.
Yeah. Johnny just drinks and watches. T.O., did you see how good he looks?
I did. I saw him talking to, was that Joe Southwick he was talking to?
Is that the Boise State guy?
Mm-hmm.
Is he aging in reverse?
Looks incredible. Was he 48?
48. Do you know whatever he's taking, which I think just might be incredible genetics, what normal people would pay if that was in a pill? I'd pay.
He looks like he's getting ready for a Marvel movie.
He just looks like he looked exactly like he did 15 years ago in the prime of his career. What the hell how does he look any different? He was bald then. He was yoked then. He looks normal. I bet he's obviously stiffer and probably not as elusive.
Maybe a little slower.
I'd imagine. He claims he looks fantastic. Could just be HGH.
And go check out our friends at Indeed. Indeed.com. Yeah. Also /ham.
Get your hire on.
Sponsored job credit, John. $75 sponsored job credit right now when you use Indeed.com/ham. Go find your MVPs. There is no better way to find the best candidates for your job. When you sponsor your job post, when you upgrade your job post, you are way more likely to get a quality candidate, like immediately. Not over 90% of employers get quality candidates as soon as they sponsor their job post. So go get it.
Do you know what's over, guy? The Great Resignation. You know why? People got to go back to work. Time to go work. They need some money. You know why? Because everything costs a lot.
Cars are $80,000.
Yeah, for like a 2-door sedan.
We talked yesterday on the podcast. Nothing imminent. We were just spitballing about other things that would work as names for this show. That it'd be easier to tell people when someone wants to find the show. Ham, and we say Haberman Middlekauff. That's what and then you got to spell it. And then they go, what's that? How do you spell that? Although I think sometimes I overrate it. How hard most people I say Haberman Middlekauff, they go, oh, okay, and they just pull out their phone and start typing. So maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but we talked about it on Sunday's Easter podcast, and we got a lot of responses, none of which I like, honestly. But one of them was this Middleman podcast, which is what Greg Pop always, back in our radio days, we called ourselves Haberkoff, and Middleman sometimes came up. Pop always asked about Middleman.
Middleman, obviously much easier to spell than Haberkoff. To me, it's in the Ham family, though. It feels like not as quite as, because I think part of the brand is, right, when you say, oh, what's your podcast? You go, Call Her Daddy, right? It's just, Pardon My Take. It's just a name that you just think of, and it's easy.
I'm jealous of Pardon My Take every time I hear the name of that podcast. Yeah, no one even knows about Pardon the Interruption anymore, probably, but it still works.
It's one of the great names.
When they came up with it, Pardon the Interruption was not in its heyday. It was already past its prime, but it was still a thing everyone knew about. I also, what would be the logo on Middleman? That's the other problem I have.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not really one. It's just the name. It's easy, Middleman.
But what does it mean to you? It doesn't mean anything to you that Ham doesn't mean to you.
That's why I said it's in the same category.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Because ultimately, even if you came up with the equivalent of Pardon My Take, right, or the golf one, No Laying Up, is a pretty good one.
Yeah,
like you ultimately just write it out, right?
That's true. I guess No Laying Up does like an NLU kind of cool. They make it look like a country club kind of logo.
Yeah, you have options.
PMT is honestly what they use. PMT. Yeah. So in that case, Ham is the same because 3 letters at least, but promo code Ham means something.
It's just so long to say.
Yeah. You're saying like as a show name?
Yeah. Ideally, you get something.
Promo code Ham and Pardon My Take are the same number of syllables. They just, one doesn't mean it. One, you're like, what is that?
Yeah, to me, Pardon My Take is infinitely better than promo code
Ham.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not the length. My point is the length of promo code Ham isn't the problem.
No, the length is not the problem at all.
It's like you got to know 2 codes. You got to know that Ham means Haberman and Middlekauff, and then you got to know that we sell stuff using it.
Yeah, because promo code Ham actually go PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, boom, PCH. You'd have, boom, right away.
Yeah, there you go.
So, the Island Boys.
Chrome domes. John has a chrome dome. Guy's hair is so illustrious, it shines like chrome.
That's, a stretch.
I'm reading some of the comments here from YouTube's previous video. My Pushback Sports Podcast.
My pushback.
Like my pushback would be.
Don't hate that.
Reporting for Duty. I liked until Middlekauff killed that one to start.
Again, like that to me, that's easy content and stuff. I'm not gonna say Reporting for Duty every fucking time we come on.
That's it's the name of the show.
Oh, but I thought you were just using that as like a tagline. For other branding, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like we still can fuck around with it. You don't have to say it every show. Would be my take. Reporting for Duty with a guy like this,
Ham flows okay. Chill. Don't fuck this up. Middleman podcast is somebody else. What about H&M? So Ron said, "What about H&M?" And then somebody else replied, "You don't see the problem with this." I guess the problem would be H&M is a clothing brand. Is that the problem with that?
Doesn't H&M mean like the stuff that what's his name was in on Billions? Who's Paul Giamatti? Stuff he's in.
I get it. Yeah,
I think it's that.
How about 3 and Out? That's funny.
But see that I'd even argue like that's not ideal because it's numbers. It's not. What I basically did was kind of copy Move the Sticks, which is a pretty good one.
That is a good one.
MTS, then boom, MTS. I mean, it's Move the Sticks is
well,
the
Move
best
the
football.
Sticks could just be that logo could just be a first down marker, right?
Yeah, but to me, it's just MT. Like you can just do the stuff you said with PMT. Like you can just do MTS pretty easily. Like that's part
You
of
could,
it. So,
but I would like to me a logo like their logo. Could we just? Because I don't think DJ's done a logo that's a first down marker, right?
but it's like I also am not huge on pigeonholing yourself with the branding.
agree.
Like I
No,
like
you're
doing
right. You're right.
universal. That's where MTS.
point.
It's like Move the Sticks, even though it is football, but it's just Move the Sticks. It's easy to say. What's your podcast? Move the Sticks. Boom. MTS. You do some branding. It's just boom. What's that? Move the Sticks. Pardon my take. Like it's just that's where I do like the 3 no laying up. Pardon my hair.
I have thought, is there something that works?
That's why, to me, you just keep throwing it out. People just keep bringing. Eventually, it'll get you in the right zone. Even if they don't lead you to the water, it'll get you closer to the lake, and eventually, you'll be able to take a sip, and you'll just hope there's not an alligator there.
We talked before about blue collar sports, but I don't want the word sports in it. Blue collar pod.
It feels like
You think we're lying a little bit?
Yeah, it's just a little fraudulent.
Ever heard of him? Oh, ever heard of him? I get it. S&M, not H&M. Got it.
That's what. Yeah, I'm not into that. So that was. I always thought. I mean, I quit the show once Axe was out.
Yeah, same.
But that element of the show was just. I'm so into Axe. They could do any storyline. I always thought was a little bit of a stretch. And really, Paul. I mean, at this point in his life was really fat and ugly, and his wife was really hot. I had listened to Josh Brown has like this podcast called The Compound. They do it every Friday. He had one of the guys on that was in Steve Cohen's office from like 99 to 02 on an episode within the last probably 3 or 4 months. And obviously that Axe's kind of, his operation was based on that, how crazy it was. And this guy said like, he didn't think Steve Cohen was as crazy, like overreactive as like Axe's character. He actually thought he was much more kind of Belichickian, except when he exploded, just because and it was always specific on like if he told you to do something or they were on something. But like the intensity of it, he said was, I mean, this guy lasted 2 years. Couldn't take it. I mean, it weeds people up. Like only Steve Cohen was the guy that stayed. Everyone else came in and out, right? Because the standards are like only like Brady lasts that long. I guess Edelman, even New England's probably it's probably harder to be a member at Alabama for long than it is New England. Ultimately getting paid in New England.
Also, if you're a player, if you're a coach,
both.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing from a player standpoint is like you just know I got 8 years to maximize, or 3 years to maximize, or 5. Right? For a coach, I think it'd be hard. Like, what's my next? I'm trying to do this for the next 40 years. Like, what's my next move? I can't be here for 40 years.
Well, you kind of get stuck.
High level guys.
HLG, don't hate that. This is our conference room.
What does Starbucks mean?
Well, see, a brand like that doesn't necessarily mean anything at first, but eventually it is. It's pretty easy to say, right? And it's very, very easy. Like you don't have to have a Harvard education. Like, how do you spell Starbucks? Starbucks, right?
Right. I'm just asking, what does it mean? Like, where did that name come from?
Hell of a question.
The hell is that? The People's Pod? Give them their flowers pod?
I think part of it, too, is when you're very internet-based, to be able to write it out very easily. Like, there are some companies that probably like Neiman Marcus. If you were starting that company in the internet age, would you name it Neiman Marcus? Kind of hard to write out and say, even though it's not that hard, but it's not as easy as some. Do you agree with that?
It's a good. I feel like I don't know that I do agree with that, because I think you and I would always joke, like, for 3 years, it felt like every company that came out with some product, it was always two dudes and two names, right?
No, I would say a lot of those were like Harry's, pretty
That's true. It
basic
was always
names.
just two dudes. We saw a problem in the market and we decided to fix it.
I'd actually argue the Roman. I mean, they're pretty basic
Get Rome.
names.
I know. Roman too. Bowl and Branch. I feel like a lot of them are that. Like that's
Think about some like big internet, like the big chick company to sell clothes, Revolve. Just pretty easy to say. It's just pretty basic stuff.
Is it Revolve or I always thought it was Relove. It's Revolve?
Fuck yeah, it's Revolve.
Oh, I thought it was Relove. I thought it was used clothes. I was like, oh, Relove. That makes sense. But Revolve makes a ton of sense too.
I made a lot of money on Revolve stock. Yeah, it's Revolve. You got me thinking. I'm like, is it Relove? No.
I like this one.
It's not terrible.
That's funny.
Like I always thought Titleist, like that was made pre-internet age. It's like, is it E before I? It's kind of harder to say. And think about some other brands are just way easier to like write out. Puma, Adidas.
We name ourselves after
Adidas. Not the easiest thing to like. Could you just spell that out right now? Is it 1D, 2Ds?
I'd never know with Adidas.
I know. That's why it's like that's a pre-internet name.
Hamcoin.
Gatorade. That's a pretty good one.
Gatorade. But it was the Gators.
You remember that commercial?
Such a good commercial.
And that's when they developed Gatorade.
The music in that commercial I loved.
And the dude looking like Forrest Gump running, the running back.
I love that commercial.
Whatever happened to that thing? They should bring that back.
Oh, we could go on. We could go spitball on this forever, but now we're just offline meeting.
Body armor.
Body armor. Bald chain.
Not terrible. Did you see? Before we get out of here, the Pretty Genius. Now it is Phil's property. I wonder if they just the new match this summer.
The old guys against the young guys,
but just the star power that those four guys are bringing. Pretty genius.
Yeah.
Right?
The problem, it is genius. The thing is, like, they've always gone with some guys that are excellent at golf in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, having Phil, Tiger, DeChambeau, like these guys these guys aren't very good. Right. Josh Allen stinks. Brady is not good. Rodgers is okay.
Are they going 18?
You're watching four guys that, I mean, all four of them might not be able to break 80. So are they
playing 18 holes?
I mean, I would guess. Now, Brooks and Bryson played 12.
I remember.
Yeah, maybe I'm not as excited now thinking about it because it could be really bad golf. So the key then is those guys bantering. You're kind of going to hang out with these guys for 3 hours. To hang out with like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and even then it's hard for those guys. I remember Tom, how just like kind of not, I don't know if nervous is the word, but Tom wasn't just like loosey-goosey. Tom was trying to play golf. Like you count on these guys to be entertaining. Phil was so good at it. So good at it. They really should just just bring Phil back. Just say, fuck it. Let's see.
Well, that's what made Phil so mad because him and Tiger had this idea and then they had to get the PGA Tour. Phil acted like he paid him. TNT fucking paid the PGA Tour, $2 million or whatever for every match for the media rights for all the, whenever they use a pro golfer. Like you don't own Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson can't do a golf event and own it without us getting a piece. Like we own his rights. That pissed Phil off. So ultimately, like TNT paid some rights fees to like, the PGA Tour, and then they all made money. But it enraged Phil that like even this other company, it's like, Phil, you ain't cutting the check. Who even cares?
How about the match?
See, that's genius. Like, think how easy that is. The match. It just started with Tiger Phil, the match. And they literally built a series off this. Like, this is what? The match 7? Like, there's been
why don't we just call our show The Match?
I don't hate it.
I don't know what that means.
Dolly?
I love every podcast is just like be like, what we can talk about? Oh, we talk a lot of quarterbacks. What's your show going to be called? And then you just come up with some, I don't know, some quarterbacking terms, You see what Peyton's production company is called, Omaha Productions?
Smart.
The show?
Not terrible.
What are the best names out there?
I mean, you kind of make the name, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you make the name. So to me, if you just get, like, what did Starbucks mean 35 years ago? Probably not that much, but they made it. What Nike meant, I mean, one of the coolest scenes in Winning Time was Phil Knight going up to Magic, like, and offering him stocks. And then Magic, like, that's the dumbest thing I ever did. Because then Michael Jordan, like 5 years later, think of what that did for him. And that, I mean, I want that to be true. What are the chances that really happened? That Phil Knight came up to Magic at the shoe convention?
Like, came up with that in that fashion. Yeah. Now that deal probably existed, right?
Isn't it weird too? Like timing, and this also shows with brands. Like most of the guys were wearing Converse in the late 70s, early 80s, right?
Or Converse, and then some Adidas.
And that's who Magic signed with.
Magic signed with Converse
because he wanted $1 more than Larry, right?
Is that what the deal was?
Yeah, I think he told the guy at Converse he wanted $1 more than Larry. But then he also said, I wanted the Magic on my shoe. Have you seen that episode?
Yeah.
Because Phil Knight put the Magic on the
They're
shoe.
like, yeah, we'll talk about it. Armchair experts. You know what would be a great podcast? To do a minor league baseball podcast just so you could call yourself Beating the Bushes.
That's a good scouting podcast.
Beating the Bushes?
Yeah.
You want to just call it Beating the Bushes?
Uncut gems, undercover gems. Off the radar prospects.
Undrafted free agent. We could go on forever.
The Turks.
The Turks. That's the guy that cuts people, right?
Yeah, Turks and Caicos.
It's a good podcast, Turks and Caicos. All right. We'll keep spitballing. This was not a podcast. This was just a hangout. So thanks for hanging with us, everybody.
May the peace be with you.